Good morning, all listeners from Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, bringing Christ to come long you, na strong in belief long you. Thank you for joining me pla long 9 o'clock program long me pla as from now on every 9 to 10 but me pla got on plan me pla program Sorcery Accusation Related Violence SAV radio awareness program also I'm covering all naraplo national issues so that law bagarapimol lain bloy mista pumi miet mimila menai na guest do mipla when come joining mipla lo talking mipla more about this program Tessy Kalamo work as a consultant na researcher one time share work. Good morning to you, Tessy. Thank you for joining mipla.
Good morning.
All right, so over the next sessions that Bamipla got to name the coming session is the program and by explaining what sorcery accusation related violence is Bamipla discussing why it remains a serious issue long Papua New Guinea na Bamipla talk lik long how began one something Bokim threat how and why it has gained international attention. Pampla identify usai the most accused or victims. Pampla highlighting some laws, na some community efforts, or local work stop, lo stopping this violence. Na to pampla look one individuals na communities you can walk in long, preventing. Right, Bami asking Ms Tessy Kalamo, please use story click lo mipla. One will groundwork you plus a working stop.
Thank you very much, Mila. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. It's a privilege to be here with you today. So, Mila introducing me beneath. My name is Tessy. So, over the next 5 weeks, and by me to talk some important conversation surrounding SAB, Sorcery Accusation Related Violence. Okay, so I do a lot of work around what is called gender equity and social inclusion and safeguarding. Those are big words, so I'll just break it down a bit. But simply, it's that my job is to think about how we can make our community safe and fair for everyone. That's women, men, children, people with disabilities, the elderly, and those who might not have a strong voice, like our youths as well. So I also do safeguarding, which means that I focus on protecting people from harm. So today, when we start in our series, the series today will start off with gossip destroys good character, protecting our community. So we are going to talk about a challenge we all know, and that is SAV. But here's the thing: we're not here to just talk about the problems today. Solutions, how we as a community can protect each other and build a good future. So today's session is called God Gave Us a Voice, and we must use it for good. So we'll be looking at the power of our words. Who gets hurt when we use them badly, and how we can use them to bring life. So, little background before you talk about solutions, we need to understand a bit about where this problem comes from. So, belief about sorcery, it's known by different names. Puri Puri, Sanguma, Malira. So we have been this has been part of our communities in PNG for generations. Just for background, so in the past these beliefs were not always negative in many societies. Spiritual power was associated with usually healing and protection and this kind, but it was part of how people experienced the unknown, or how they explained the unknown back then. Like a sudden illness or an unexpected death, no, also used to Islam. But something changed over the last few decades, or the last years, the way the communities respond to accusation. It has become much more violent. So the experts are telling us that this very violent nature of attacks we see today, like the torture in the public places, that's largely a modern thing. It's not a tradition of our societies from before. So sorcery accusation related violence is time we blame when we say something happened and we say it's because of Sanguma, and then violence comes up. So that's sorcery accusation related violence. Very simple that way.
Yeah, kind of some example, unexplained deaths number them come up in many of our rural communities or illnesses that also blaming law, witchcraft, kind of some also limited access to because all got limited access to healthcare, law enforcement, them are contributing to that fear and misinformation. So now that you come now by me talk, you give him more information now. So there are some things that you need to understand in good past tense before you may accuse him on man of death or some old sanguma or maybe like a different name or different provinces from you may.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
right. So, like you were saying, now the violence is more linked to the pressures of modern life today, like poverty, inequality, weak health system, the breakdown of traditional ways of how we used to solve conflicts before. Yeah? So when people are feeling desperate and helpless now and they can't explain a death, then that's when they have nowhere to go and they start looking for someone to blame. So it's just like an excuse. So sorcery accusation related violence is like a symptom of something that is not right, like economic factors. For example, our country is going through a lot right now, so there's not enough resources to go around, so there's a lot of poverty, and so accusations are happening. So you you asked a question of when the world started paying attention. When did it become an international concern? We became seriously concerned. The international community became seriously concerned, and in the 2011, 2012, so by 2013, now PNG repealed the old Sorcery Act, and they introduced tougher penalties. And then in 2021, the United Nations Human Rights Council passed a resolution specifically addressing violence linked to witchcraft accusations. So that shows that it's not only an international concern, it's everybody's now here in this country. But most important thing to understand is that the violence is not culture. Culture is about identity and belonging, and culture is about singing and dancing and language and caring for each other and loving each other. Violence is a choice, and we can choose differently. So when we talk about violence and what actually hurts in my line of work, we always ask the question, who's most at risk? Who is being left behind? And when we look at some, you will see very clear patterns that come out. So that leads to answering your next question of who suffers the most.
Yes. Settled victims don't serve, and usually among the most vulnerable of society.
Yes. So the first group we identify women, so they are the majority of the victims. It's not random. In a country where we have a lot of gender inequality, women are often vulnerable. They have less power to defend themselves and fewer support structures. So some of the experts, some research, they say that SAB should be seen as a form of gender-based violence because it often targets women, elderly women, widows, living alone. They're the ones who are at high risk. And then there's people with disability as well. They are also targeted. If someone has a physical difference or behaves differently, no, we think that okay, something is that evidence for sorcery or something went wrong. So that's really cruel, but that's how it is in our societies now.
Yeah,
So
you were talking, it could be an underlying issue. One plastic when step inside on them, survey. But just because somehow collapse and you think you some more. Remember, Sangoma is practicing something, he or she.
That's right. So that's what we think. But we must always remember a person with disability is a child of God, just like anyone else. Okay. The next group, interesting enough, the other successful ones, successful people who are also targets. Like sometimes when a family garden is, going really well, or setting up on a business, or picking go to university now. And jealousy now it leads to accusations. Jealousy.
In a modern sense, we can talk.
Yeah, so jealousy, gossip leading to accusations. So instead of celebrating each other, we tear each other down. Instead of asking, how can I be like that, or how can I be successful too?
Exactly.
No, we are asking, how can we bring them down? Yeah. So those are some of the, things that are really real in the communities. And something heartbreaking is when victims flee for their lives. That's happening now. So there are a few places that they can go to. So like safe houses are very limited. Also, safety is not guaranteed in the safe houses as well. You know, our PNG way of doing things. Witness protection programs. You know, we'd really like to have more of that happening. Many women are just really pretty much forced to return to the communities where they were attacked because there's nowhere to go. So that's,
Do we have some that you know of witness protection programs? Kind of second number that you probably talking me plus or whoever that is listening in all basave.
Okay, so usually when these kind of things happen, confidentiality is always maintained because it's very, very sensitive. But women have been rescued, or victims or survivors of SAB have been rescued and put in places where they can seek help. Those locations cannot
Be disclosed,
yes, but there is definitely help. And those help, like we'd like to strengthen those places like the police stations, certain safe houses that are in public that are helping, and the police stations. Yeah, so those referral pathways are already there, they just need resourcing and strengthening. Yeah.
Thank you, Tessie. So you mean most of the documented cases I'm showing with the women, they're the ones, they are the ones that are being targeted, and then they make him serve a form of gender-based violence, as you've already mentioned. And then accusations and so often you may talk follow sudden illness, death, or personal disputes within the communities. One example is now one example hotspot areas.
Okay, so the truth is that SAB affects communities right across PNG, so from Highlands to Momase to Southern to the islands, but there's some areas that are particularly active. So the Highlands,
we've seen on the social media
now, So in the Highlands provinces, we see high number of cases in Enga, Southern Highlands, Western Highlands, some in Western, Eastern, and Jiwaka. They are all areas where organizations are focusing their efforts. Margaret province has also been identified as another hotspot, and then there's East New Britain popping up as well. But there are people tirelessly working in these provinces, in these spaces to make a difference. So I'll probably just mention a couple of them. Yeah, because I'd like to change our narrative from, SAB is just so negative and so, all the negativity around it. But I'd like to change the narrative and focus on the good things that are happening. There's a lot of good things happening to fight SAB. So one of them is PNG Tribal Foundation. They've done a really good work. So these are the people who have coined the term Sorcery Accusation Related Violence, because they wanted to be clear that the violence starts with the accusation, not the sorcery. Yeah, so they've been rescuing victims for over a decade now, and the data that I have is that they have recorded 696 victims from across the country, and they've assisted police with about 122 arrests. So that's good. They're doing something. So they're the ones on the ground providing shelter, food, medical support, and legal help, apart from the churches. And the Catholic Church has played a big role, apart from the other denominations as well, in these hotspot areas. There's also Koikas that do some work in supporting SAB work. So UNFPA and Koika, so these are the major projects funded by Korea and run by UNFPA. So they work in the Southern Highlands, Eastern, Western Highlands.
Basically the hotspots.
Yes, so that's to end gender-based violence and SAB. There's also Divine Word University and the Melanesian Institute. So they have partnered and they've developed a community curriculum. It's a really good one. So it's an 8-week program that trains pastors, teachers, youth leaders on how to prevent violence. It's been piloted in Enga, and about 200 people or so far have been trained or taking part in this program. So it's a really good initiative. And then like I mentioned, the churches. So church leaders are, our heroes on the ground, and the locals who support, individuals. And for example, like in Eastern Highlands, there's over like 80 leaders from government and faith-based organizations and grassroots groups that gathered to come into action. So those are just examples of how, while we think we are losing control as a society, this is some of the good work that where people are not giving up, but they are coming together to find solutions. And there's so many local groups, women's groups, peace groups that are also doing a lot of work up in the Highlands as well. And interestingly, in some of those programs, they have programs for males as well. Yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
yeah, and males have come out who were former perpetrators, and now they're reformed and they're driving programs. And it's so interesting how it's changing behavior, having former perpetrators coming out and saying what I did was wrong, I want to help fix that now. So yes, there's a lot of good things happening in the communities. We just need to bring these stories out.
So they've come all realizing that the act that all making long it was wrong.
Yes.
So I'll come back lo talk, okay, now me ready to help
Yes.
to stopping this violence.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it's amazing. A lot of good work out there.
Yeah, Nipa talk lo hotspot and then meeting in even in Port Moresby too and
Oh,
Kama.
Yes.
So it's a problem, nationwide problem.
Yes.
Remember, looking at alright, Osim talk finish and those who are listening in, all also to helping the ground staff, as Tessy mentioned already, all churches, all faith leaders, community groups, police and the provincial authorities, all NGOs, kind of PNG Tribal Foundation, or Saitoloklo rescue, supporting of victims for over a decade. And then the Department of Justice, na Attorney General, who's our partner one time of United Nations, universities are developing a nationwide action plan. So you may do reminding you me again, or some little groups are providing shelter, medical health care, or some Tessy mentioning pennies, and legal support also. So by me talk lo first the series baby this session and probably marapla bakam longem. So first the series to me talk our first session, and God gave us a voice. We must use it for good. So in Tessy you talking stop story about this topic and the theme that
Yeah, so thank you. God gave us a voice. So this is based on Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death. And so session 1, our words have power. The focus today is on accusation, like Tribal Foundation said. Violence starts from the accusation, from what we say, from the gossip. And so I'd like to bring every one of us back to that Bible text of Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death. So it's putting us back, giving us accountability again on what we think and what we say, showing love and respect towards others the way they are. I think that's the bottom line of how we should live together peacefully in our communities, is just respect. Respect is the bottom line. And then we say we are a Christian country. Our Christian values of loving each other, do unto others what you want to be done to you. The very basic Christian values and principles that we can apply in everyday living is the focus of this morning's session. The importance of what we say and how we say it and to who we say it is very powerful. So if we say otherwise, then we starting gossip, accusations, and then it goes on to talking about Sangomana, when there could be other underlying economic reasons or health reasons, but we're just looking for excuses because we just want to talk casually and not worry about, not take care of the words that are coming out of our mouth.
Thank you, Tessy. Right, so you mentioning penis, but maybe someone that them must have missed out on something you may talk come long ina we talking about how you can using tongue blow you may use our tongue to bring life, not death, to our neighbors.
Okay, so I think the most simplest thing I could say in relation to that is when we speak with love and with care, that we do not create a scenario where there's gossip based on nothing, no evidence, and then we start jealousy and we start all these negative emotions that eventually lead to sorcery accusation related violence. Because like I said, violence is not, it's something that we choose to do, and our choice of words, the way we say things and what we say, can create chaos or can create a positive environment for ourselves. So within the sub setting, the importance of what we are saying and how we're saying it is very important, because we are creating scenarios or cases for chaos when we say the wrong thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Cassie. But we plan go on a short break. Nata you come back in, okay, we can continue. Alright, good morning, listeners from Radio Maria Papua New Guinea, bringing Christ to come among you. Na mimila menai, mipa program lo mipa, I'm on SAV, Sorcery Accusation Related Violence, radio awareness that mipa from meeting staff. As mipa talk pinis guest lo me and Ms Tessy. Thank you again for joining me for the program. We can talk about SAV, what it is, one kind of help and stop or manner can go those who are accused on them. Good help. And then we can mention him on hotspot areas. SAV incidents are most common in rural and highlands province, including Enga, Simbu, Eastern Islands, Hela, Western Islands, as Mipla mentioning more opinions. Some often sa start one time rumors, gossip, talk bloy miya. As Mipla talk bloy you got power. Law from the book of Proverbs chapter 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So some often begin on the rumors, gossip, fear, false accusations, and Mipla talk start on them, but it can be stopped through truth, courage, compassion, faith, and then the Bible also is teaching you to speak the truth in love, and also to defend the weak and the poor, the most vulnerable. Na this session Mipla talk about SAV is driven by fear and ignorance. Many plenty accusations and follow on them sudden illness or unexpected death, and then Mipla talk health knowledge can stop communities from blaming sorcery for medical conditions. Most of people don't survive good. If we don't get good information, that's when we start accusing people of, I'm got this plan, practicing this plan, that kind of thing. And then we got also communities, cerebral staff, pastors, youth leaders, elders, all can publicly preach against this violence. I mean, up you, Ms. Tessy, story likely on Mipla, if Mipla talking molansa, from groundwork, you plus about planting groundwork, na kind of thing. Maybe something about why we're Mipla making, why we are advocating or stopping this violence that is happening.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to put a positive framing around why we are advocating. So after hearing all of these, like the history, the survivors, the hotspots, and then the law, which DJ can come and talk about some more, you might be wondering, like, why are we advocating to end this, and what is our motivation behind it? So firstly, life is precious. There was a case in Jiwaka where a mother fled on Christmas Eve with her 4 children, and she had to run for her life on the night where we're celebrating, the birth of the Prince of Peace. And she deserves to celebrate peace and peace. Her children deserve to grow up without fear. That's reason enough. every life is precious. Secondly, because violence destroys our communities economically. So when accusations happen, houses are burned, gardens are destroyed, families flee, businesses shut down. So in a struggling economy today, we cannot afford to destroy what little we have. So every house burned is a family saving gone. School kids are not able to go to school, gardens are left, no one is there to take food to the market. Now everything's destroyed. So violence definitely destroys our communities economically. And thirdly, because we are simply better than this as Papua New Guineans. We take pride in ourselves, in our community, on caring for each other, our one-talk system, the positivities in the one-talk systems that we have. Serve is the opposite of all of those good things, and it tears apart the very fabric of our PNG communities, and it makes us fear our neighbors instead of trusting them, our own family members instead of trusting them. And coming back to our scripture for today, because our words have power. Proverbs 18:21 tells us that tongue has the power of life and death, and every time we choose to speak the truth instead of rumors and gossiping, protection instead of accusation, we choose life and we choose our community. So this is why we advocate. We're not against culture, but because we are for the people. So we are for the families, for our future, where our children don't have to run away in fear or live in fear. So that's why we advocate.
Yeah, you talk la side for culture na nami upotingin. Maybe in your culture, maybe you can talk to me a little about how the misconception is.
That's right.
You story little about this.
Yeah, so something interesting that I found out, my dad is from the Arama coast of the Central Province, and interestingly, back in the day before Christianity arrived, there was witchcraft, there was sorcery. There were two sides of this thing, the spiritual powers. One was to spoil, and there was always one ready on standby to fix it. And this kept the balance or the order in community. So when something bad was done through witchcraft or sorcery, there was always somebody in the opposite spiritual practice who would be ready to come and say, let's fix it now. And the whole community would come together and fix it, and there would be no violence at all. And so that's how it was part of a culture until Christianity came in. Not that Christianity is a bad thing, but I'm just giving an example of how there was no violence, and people did not choose violence at that time. Now I believe we are choosing more violence as an excuse to hurt other people, and we are forgetting the Christian values and principles that we have. And back then, the value that I took out from that story was that there was respect in that. Even when Christianity wasn't there was respect. But Christianity definitely tells us that we should respect each other and love one another. So what's our excuse of losing that? We never really lost anything good. It's always been there. Why are we not upholding it? We're just using excuses, and a lot of it is fueled by fear and because of the economy that we're living in, most likely, the struggles and the hardships. So the fear, the jealousy that's driven, it's all sin. And so getting back to the Bible now and understanding it and practicing those values are very important for us. But that's just an example of how I thought, well, even before Christianity, respect was there as part of culture. These spiritual practices were there, but they were just to keep the order. There was no violence. When Christianity came in, it built on it also talked about respect, and that respect carried through. But why are we still having accusations? That's the reason why we are advocating, and I've given my reasons why we advocate, is to change the narrative and give a positive spin that culture is culture. We also have our Christian values and principles to live by, and practicing those is very important today, more than ever.
Thank you, Tessy. And then it all comes back to just one man. Talk blongem tasol wokem now.
That's right.
That's when the person that them is supposed to even maybe only even survey or some all they have this ability to practice something witchcraft or sorcery or kind of thing. But then because someone said it, words, it all come back to our session here. God gave us a voice, so we must use him for the right purpose.
Yes.
Put something.
Yes.
When you say something, lo, either I must build something or lo, destroy something. It depends on each individuals, and also that's why it is good that the organization that you're working with share work. You know, they're working with communities, kind of tribal foundation, and this other the government, all working together, lo help stop this. So apart from serve that me plan talk on the next sessions that I'm come by me discuss long sample related concerns.
Yes.
And all maybe you can talking with kind of gender-based violence.
Yes. So we'll talk about all the cross-cutting issues going forward now, like gender-based violence, domestic violence, more specifically, child protection. That's something that not so much focus is given on. Child protection, safeguarding in the community. So the work of looking at the work of NGOs and faith-based organizations and civil society organizations, and how their work is done in our communities, and the importance of safeguarding in our work. And there's so many male advocacy, so many other cross-cutting issues, and coming up with positive framings of those issues and encouraging community discussions going forward. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Alright, good listeners from Radio Maria Papua New Guinea. Tessy, Ms Guest Ms program. Sav, we got we mentioned Ms Tessy and Tessy Kalamo. Yes. Thank you, Tessy. Lo time do you. Thank you, lo come program and me like reminding you me yourself. Talk to you is a gift from God. When misused, it destroys lives. However, when used wisely, it protects the innocent and strengthens the community. So you must think, as Proverbs 18:21 reminds us, death and life are in the power of the tongue. So you must always choose in life. Thank you, lo stop on Temipla, lo program Nomipla. Thank you, lo tune in. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to be part of our discussion next week or second, you can contact Radio Maria Papua New Guinea long 75307272. That's our mobile number, 75307272, or our digital number 711272238, 711272238. Thank you. Tune in na you plan a good day.